Hi, I'm Mary Lindsay Wilson, and welcome to the Lone Star Dowsers. This is our March 2025 meeting. My intention is to educate and inspire you and to provide you with tools that you can use to make a difference in your life and the lives of those around you. And we have a very special guest tonight, Shelley Darling, but I'm going to make some announcements before we do all this. And I want to say hi, shout out to our people over at the Aurora Chapel, Emily, and friends who are watching live here in Houston. So glad you guys are there. And let's see, this is possible through your donation. So if you would like to make a donation, we've got our PayPal information that came out on the link. And you're welcome to support my business and Emily's business. Emily helps us with all the technology and our newsletters and all that good stuff. So we appreciate your contributions. Also want to make a few announcements. We like to help our fellow dowsers. So if you want to participate in aid in relief from fires, drought, heat waves, and floods, every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Central Time, the Tucson Dowsers meet on Zoom. And they've got their link, and it's also on our newsletter that you can tune in. I think they're needing some rain right now. So there's that. And also on Thursday evenings at 8 o'clock Central, there is a Dows for the Planet. And that's every Thursday. And this is a weekly meeting that's hosted by our friends from Australia, Heather Wilkes and Francis Peterson. They do dowsing for health, healing for Australia and beyond. So anyway, there's all sorts of wonderful things. We'd like to help our dowsing community whenever we can. So brings us back to tonight. So Shelley is going to talk about how to use dowsing as a whole living system and how to put a crystal Merkaba around your home. So I know that I just love new things about dowsing and maybe things that I haven't done or other people's experience. So Shelley is a visionary leader, and she's also the founder of Evolutionary Dowsing and Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing Consortium, which I know she's going to share a little bit about that. With over 35 years of experience, she's pioneered a dynamic whole systems approach that integrates ancient wisdom, evolutionary consciousness, and transformative modalities, including dowsing, Feng Shui, heart resonance, and somatic integration techniques. Her work fosters unconditional love, embodied heart awakening, and conscious evolution, empowering individuals and communities through her innovative methodologies. These include methodologies that can harmonize and enliven your homes, your office, your landscapes, according to nature's intrinsic design, and cultivating a deeper connection between the human experience and the natural world. And Shelley's also the author of 2 books, and I know she's got a whole lot of other things that I probably did not include, but welcome, Shelley.
Thank you, Mary. And it's really, I'm just thrilled to be here and just be a part of this, also part of the country. I know there's people from all over on this call, but it feels really cool to just have this direct, you could think of it as a song line, right, to Texas and to really the gifts that each one of you are bringing. So I'm going to
And you're
learn as
in
much.
Maine,
Yes, I'm in
and that
Maine.
beautiful image behind you is right near where you are in Maine. So we'll
Yeah,
bring a little bit of that Maine energy to everybody.
yes.
Did you want to do an opening for us?
Okay, sure. I was just waiting to see what you want to do. So First of all, welcome everyone. I'm very blessed here tonight, and so are you, because I've just discovered a couple of the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsers, the consortium, are on with us tonight, and I'll share who they are in a few minutes. And the authors we've been working 5 years on a book that really speaks to working as a group, and that's really my underlying passion is how do we work together as dowsers, planetary healers, alchemists, and understanding that how do we maintain a sense of flow and resonance with each other as we're taking that energy and impacting, the earth or houses, homes, communities, centers, whatever you're working with, schools. So a little bit more about that. But I'd love to invite everyone who's on this call. Understandably, some people can't bring their face to the call, but I would love to invite you to come and be present, because that's really one of the most important things when it comes to working as a group and to being willing to be, really not have other things going on. And at the same time, understandably, some people can't be. So, if you're sitting there, would love to see your face, at least in the beginning. But we'll start with what is really important in the journey that I've taken. I think it just might say one or two little things. So before I became a dowser, which was completely out of left field, I was doing a lot of somatic integration, working with clients, and when dowsing came in. And as it developed, the expression of dowsing that I'm inviting you into tonight is really more on the energy of transformational dowsing, which really focuses on working with clients, land, whatever, to support opening a pathway, an elevated pathway, so that person or their family or their partner can really step into their fullest expression. And that's really what this dowsing entails. And so it involves not only, I like to look at it as a triad. And so there's the dowsing, and then I have a Feng Shui background, and then, of course, the land enchantment, or call it land whispering. But included in this is really how do we hold the space for the people and the land and the homes that we're working with to create an environment that supports an exponential capacity for that person to really live their vision and dreams. So I think we'll just leave it at that. And so I just want to invite everyone to just stop what they're doing and take a moment, and just, if you feel comfortable, you can leave your eyes open, or if you feel comfortable, can close your eyes and just bring your full attention into your body, into your heart, and to make a conscious choice to become aware of your breath, or what, here in Maine, we're very aware of tidal flows with the ocean and the rivers. And so just to invite you to become aware of this really tidal flow, the energy of water, breath, as you take a breath and then just release it. And to feel the gravity, to allow yourself to feel the gravity of just really sitting deep in the place that you are. And you'll just begin to notice that you start to relax. You might become aware of certain areas that are more, where there's more tension. Just breathing into that. And you'll notice that your feet just automatically just come and connect with the ground. And just becoming aware of this relationship with the earth, understandably the mother, and beginning to open with your breath that sensation of being nurtured Again, that just feeling that heart chakra and then the connection to that opening of receiving. Because as Dowsers, I know each one of you just is that feeling of that wave of reception. Just beginning to open to the information field. And here in Maine, the trees, the maple trees, the sap is flowing, right? And so we want to just begin to allow our awareness to rise, just like that sap rises. And as our attention rises, the invitation tonight is to allow your awareness to rise about 1.5 feet above your head. And again, just like the branches of a tree, just allowing yourself to open to receive from the cosmos, or we call it the field, that which you personally are here to receive tonight. And I love to call that point the joy point, or even call it it's the J spot, right? We have a G spot and a J spot, and allow a little bit of humor, a little bit of that smile to open to receiving the fullness of who you are. Your attention to drop back down and connect with your heart. And as you're connecting with your personal heart, it's bringing in a sense of gratitude for how you are showing up in the world. And then allowing your awareness to expand out to this circle of people here tonight. To the land on where you're standing, honoring the ancestors of that land. You may or may not know who they are. And expanding your awareness to your river, or if you know your watershed. And I don't know about Texas, but some mountain that you're near or that speaks to you personally. And just tracking that energy. And tonight we'll also just bring in the angels and archangels and lady masters and allowing an opening to the nature spirits, elementals, and any seen or unseen spirit helpers that are here to allow for greater sense of wholeness, a greater sense of unity. And a sense of peace. And with that, very gently, in right timing, just bring yourself fully present into the space here, gently opening your eyes and reorienting yourself. Look around, look at these beautiful faces.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, definitely created a shift. Well, can you tell us how you got started in dowsing?
Really? Okay. So, sure. So, like I was sharing, it came completely out of left field. And at that time, I was living in California. I was actually teaching trainings. We had like 80-hour trainings of really heart awakening and relationship trainings, but essentially how to come home to your heart. And we were having at that time, it was my husband and I, we were having an introductory evening for, it was a product for dowsing to come to our house. And I was really, really sick. And at that point, the person who was there said, "Oh, no problem. Take me to your bedroom. I have my dowsing rods." And at that point, I didn't know anything. And I was like, "Well, what's dowsing? What are you talking about?" And of course, as we know, as we open to these nodes of connection, long story short, she comes into my bedroom, she brings her dowsing rods and discovers that there's all these geopathic stress lines and has me lay on my bed and says, and says, and shows me how they all are crossing on my bed. And it was exactly the place in my body where I was sick. I actually had a really, really bad bladder infection, and the rods, the energy, earth energy lines were crossing right there. And she did her thing and left. And the next morning I was fine. And I said, "Okay, that's it. What is this?" And of course, when things are in right alignment, right, because that's what we're learning, how beautiful that feels. There was a training happening in the next town over, and I went and put these dowsing rods in my hands, and I had this overwhelming surge of joy and realizing I had a sense I had done this before. And that moment changed my life, because from that point, I began to douse I had a lot of clients, and I began to douse my clients' homes. And all of a sudden, I began to see a pattern. And that pattern was all those clients that had been with me for so long were like popping through and didn't need to have counseling anymore. And it was amazing. And so that sort of opened the field for me to, I began to travel for probably 8 years internationally, not only teaching, but I began to realize that the more houses that were doused in an area, all of a sudden there was community gatherings were beginning to happen, and people were connecting with each other, and people were feeling the sense of relationship with their purpose. And so that was it for me. I just, little by little started dowsing and realized, and eventually said I wouldn't see any more clients unless I doused their home, because I knew what was going on with them. This is the big place. So I learned that about, really honestly, and I'll say that here, 60 to 70% of what's going on with someone has to do with their house and their land. And when you clear those, and everyone here probably has various tools and, does what they do. And that's the beauty. We can learn from each other and expand our toolboxes to really be able to support people to really live their incarnated purpose. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And what an incredible story. And okay, I'm just sort of reeling from that information about um I guess I relate to that. I wouldn't have put it in those terms, but having an interior design background, and also having done lots of coaching with people, whatever's happening in their life shows up in their home, 100% of the time. So I guess it's where to look, but I love it. So is that how your whole living system came to be?
Okay, I'll add that. I also want to let people know, they probably already know, but just in case, because sometimes I get on calls. So on the right-hand corner, there's a view button, and you can be looking at the gallery, or you can be looking at us at the speaker view. So just wanted to, sometimes people don't really realize that. And So, so the whole system piece came in afterward. And it came in around 2011 when I met a woman named Barbara Marx Hubbard. How many people here know her? She passed a few years ago, but Barbara Marx Hubbard, for those who don't know, was a visionary and a futurist. And she worked with people like Buckminster Fuller. And it was there that I started to learn about heart resonance. And I began to understand, she always talked about conscious, and it was called conscious evolution, and how we were living at a time, unlike any other time, where we had the opportunity to be conscious of evolution as it was happening. Prior to that, we're just living our lives, but and responding, reacting to what is in front of us. But this was the point of that shift, birth, and it was, we were in that birth 2012 time. And so mentoring with her really changed my life, because when I began to realize that, and this tied to the training that I had earlier, which was that, we experience chaos. But what I began to understand was that everything always, the universe is always evolving into its highest order. And when I began to have a direct experience of that, something began to shift. And when the dowsing got applied to that, then I began to start to understand whole systems health. That number one, the universe, what's the word I'm looking for? The essence of the universe is its innate essence is to unify. And every system on the earth, we all live in a living ecosystem that knows itself better than we'll ever know it. It knows exactly what to do, just like our bodies. Our bodies, we have a living ecosystem. So when the dowsing starts getting applied and we start to understand this as a living system, and we include all those aspects, which the dowsing can include, then something really takes hold, and we can be a part of, and I'm sure all of you are part of a shift going on. I mean, we all have to at this point, don't we? Start doing our work.
Some are conscious and some are maybe not as conscious of it.
Right. So the idea is that we deepen our, so conscious evolution led to a relationship between evolutionary consciousness and ancient wisdom. And that really is the magic of the work that I want to let people know about, where we begin to weave this relation I'll just give one example and then I'll be quiet, and but essentially, well, Nalas is laughing because probably I won't be quiet. But anyway, so one of the things that changed for me as an example was, so I would, be dousing people's houses. But when I began to understand the deeper weavings, like I realized that I would never again do a dowsing without doing a land acknowledgement with the person that I'm dowsing, and invite them into that experience. Because what happens is, the idea is that we need to come into a deeper, return to the sacred. So it's weaving the understanding of whole systems health, which invites all aspects of ourselves, right, and the earth, and then opening a doorway for the people that we're working with to understand their relationship. And as an example, I'm thinking about a time I was dowsing in Sarasota, Florida, with an incredible spiritual woman who owns an acupuncturist, and she owns a phenomenal business. And she teaches all kinds of health and healing and fasting and eating and all kinds of things, Chinese medicine. But when I took her to that tree and we did a land acknowledgement, there were two things that happened for her. She was, oh my God, I had no idea what I was missing, what I didn't understand. about my relationship, because you bring in the actual names of those indigenous First Nation people of the land that you're working on. And usually clients don't necessarily have a relationship. And to support them in understanding even our responsibility in and bringing in forgiveness. And so the land acknowledgement includes all that. But on this particular case, what she said, she all of a sudden had a major aha in that moment. She goes, oh my God, I had no idea. You know, people have come here and talked about seeing a native spirit in this building. And now I realize, and it was like her consciousness put it all together. And from that day on, completely changed her relationship with the land that she was on. And then she began to tell people. So I think this is something that we all can do and support a wider understanding. And so I think that's a long answer to your question, but so
Well,
invite
now you
people.
really have my curiosity going. So, yeah, talk more about your whole living system, or how does that, or what, what, I know we were gonna, you wanted to share your special teaching about creating a crystal Merkaba for your home.
Right.
Um, how do we get there? I mean, I know it's connected
Okay.
to this, the whole living system.
So if you don't mind, because so for everyone here, like one of the most important things to me is that you can participate, you can engage. And like to just take a moment, because I've said a lot. And if that's okay, Mary. Okay. So if you have something burning right now from something that was said or a question, because I trust that the questions actually lead us to where we need to go. And it's not just you asking a question, it's you're asking for everyone. So I just want to just do a quick check-in, and if anyone has anything that they have, just
Do
checking.
we have any questions?
Probably not. Or
It's kind of a lot
right.
I mean, we have a pretty amazing group, I think, that
I
people
know.
are definitely tracking.
Okay.
But I love your approach. It feels like it really integrates so much. Okay, I see that Terry has a question. Yeah, Terry, if you want to ask your question, you're welcome to. And you want to unmute yourself?
I think she is, but I think you don't have a good.
Connection. Okay, if we can't understand you, you're welcome to put it in the chat, and I will read the question for you.
You're sounding very squirrely.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can keep going, and also I'll be sharing my screen, and you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about as well.
Yeah, I wanted to say the first time I heard about really kind of acknowledging the land and dowsing, my aunt was a dowser,
Okay.
and she introduced me to dowsing, and she was a co-founder of the Labyrinth Society, and so before they would create a labyrinth, they acknowledged the land and the history of the land, and was there anything that needed to be cleared, or I mean, just like what you're saying with the people that, you know, owner sounds weird, but anyway, so it was very, I always was profoundly touched by that, and I love that is part of your. So Terry says, what do you mean by land acknowledgement?
Right. Okay. So I was actually going to bring something up. Okay, I'll just talk about it. So so nowadays, a land acknowledgement would be a recognition, taking the time to offer some at least some tobacco to the land, to the ancestors. It's an actual, I've turned it into like a format where people can, so you're acknowledging the land, just like I was doing in that little invocation, acknowledging the land, the people of the land. So let me just show you. So I'm introducing myself to the land. Who am I? By saying, I'm Shelley Darling. I'm here on the land. I should have started anyway like this. The land of the First Nations, the unceded territory of the Abenaki and Wabanaki people, First Nation people. In the West watershed, I'm honoring the water. And in the land, and I'm remembering, I've taken the time to go find out what the indigenous name of the land or the watershed. So the Westgag is the original one, as far as I can get to the original name of the watershed or the river. And Katawamtiak is the name of this place. Like in English, it would be Rockland, Maine, but here acknowledging it in its own language. So there is that bringing yourself, in a sense, it's humbling yourself, opening to acknowledge what land you're really standing on. And then acknowledging, because those people have been here for, whatever, 2,000, 3,000, 10,000 years. They lived, they hunted, they ate. So the land acknowledgement is a format of responding to of responsibility and honoring that, that we're that we're just learning what this land looks like. We're learning about the people, and that it's a way of asking also for forgiveness for our ignorance, and coming back to us, returning to sacred. So it's a way of taking time to stop and invite that relationship to be restored. It's really about land restoration. And in terms of and I don't know if there's anybody on here who is a First Nations person, if you're welcome to share. But it's honoring the First Nations people on the land that they lived on and worked. I think that's the best way to say it for now. And I'm also happy to send Mary a template of a land acknowledgement that you're welcome to use, and you're just going to insert the indigenous people of that land. Like, does anyone know, for instance, Mary, do you know the indigenous people of the land that you're living on?
I think kind of in the Gulf Coast, it's like the Karankawa Indians. I'm not quite sure, but I think that I think so. But I'm not 100% sure. And I guess I would say our watershed, or the closest one to me, is Buffalo Bio.
So there's one other piece to this, which is, thank you, Mary. That's beautiful, because what happens is after tonight, you're probably going to go look.
Right.
Who are those people? Where are they? Right. And then you're going to probably try and find out what your watershed is. And what I've learned is that when we love something, we have that innate feeling to take care of it, to honor it, to wake up in the morning when you go and step out of your house. You're going to start to remember, and it starts to remember you. And all of a sudden, nodes of connection will happen with that land, or you'll start to remember something that you might have forgotten. It's the best way to say it. It sounds a little bit amorphous, but basically it's an honoring. You're taking the time to honor the people that walked on this earth, on the land that you are. So it's honoring them and yourself as a land steward instead of a land owner. And it begins to shift how you approach.
You relate and you connect
How you
with
relate,
your area. I know
Yep.
that's very powerful.
Yep.
There was a question, is this something, the land acknowledgement, is that something that needs to be done periodically?
Um, that's a really good question. I think it's something that we each have to answer for ourselves. So like when I moved to this house a few months ago, I did a land acknowledgement. Before I even like walked on the property, I just stopped for a minute. I took a pause, and it makes you smile. It makes you feel This is the beginning of wholeness, of our return to wholeness. To restore Earth is because ultimately restoring Earth, we can go and douse a house and do all this other stuff, but how do we really, that restoration happens within us first.
Yeah,
So,
it's about wholeness.
exactly. So we start to feel a deeper relationship with the earth. And then what tends to happen is you go to other people's houses. I'm assuming that you're dowsers and you probably work on, wherever you work. And you start to think about and feel more deeply what you're doing. So it doesn't, you're obviously having experiences with frequency, vibration, and doing all kinds of stuff, but it takes you into a deeper sense of who we truly are as a one energy, one life force. And it starts to open a pathway of relationship, of sacred relationship.
In communion. John, do you have a question? Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I have an observation, and I love what you're doing here, Shelley. And in the context of watershed, that term has always rubbed a little bit against me, and so I'm looking at another way of expressing that. And what has just come up is a community of waterways. Because watershed is just, let's get rid of it. To me, that's one of the concepts of it. It's shedding water out of away from there. And I'm more interested in holding it where it is as long as possible.
That's so interesting. And I actually have someone here who is very powerful water advocate, and so am I. And I've never heard. First of all, thank you for sharing, because you were being vulnerable and saying what you're saying, and I think that's a really interesting, really interesting way of looking at it. And I've never thought about that way, because we think of watershed. I think of, like, when I think of watershed, and I get it what you're saying, I think of from the headwaters to the sea, and how that water is flowing. And obviously, we broke states up into states, but territories or land was always understood by the riverways. And if you put your email into the chat, I promise to get back to you about that. I think that's a really very endearing question and thought, that the way it affects you. So let's see if,
Yeah, I live close to headwaters of the Missouri River, and Montana is a state that sheds water to 3 different oceans. And so how we treat that is pretty interesting and important. But yeah, I will definitely.
Thank you. And tonight we're going to like stay with the dowsing, but I am a water advocate. Started what's called Loving Waters, and if you're interested, you can email me and I'll help connect you around that. But tonight we're staying with the dowsing. and
we might have to have another conversation, Shelley. I love that. Yeah, I agree, John. It's a little jarring, that term, but it just made me think, okay, well, let me reinterpret. What's the closest body of water to me is kind of how I took it.
Right, and I usually will say, you know, and most people know, they might know the river or creek or you know, but they might not understand what even that means. And the fact that you even know what that means is very, you know, is great. But yeah, to even just to simply understand your river and where it comes from, where is it sourced?
Yeah, very, very good question. Good, just letting that integrate. Yeah. So,
Where would you like to go, Mary? You want me to keep going?
well, we have probably about 15 minutes. I don't know how much time we need for the crystal
Okay, we need
Merkaba.
more than that. Okay, so
Okay.
let's go there. Okay, so what just to preface what I'm about to show you, and I think I'm going to probably have to take off this background so that you can see it, but we'll see. So I had been teaching someone else's work for quite a while. And at one point, I went to Crestone, Colorado. They invited me to come there, and I did it one day, and then they wanted more, and then I did a 2-day, and then no, then they wanted me to do a training, and I didn't have my own, you know, my own training at that point. And I said, give me 2 weeks, I'll put it together, and they're all willing. And so I stayed in Crestone and you know, created my own training from everything, from all my background. And I met a woman, her name is Catherine Parker. She has what's called resonance alchemy, and we became really good friends. And we began to work together with the land. And what I discovered was that by creating a crystal Merkaba around the house, it will actually stop geopathic stress. Now, there might be one line or something that's left out, but for the most part, and I was really surprised by this, and because I had been, for the most part, using what I call earth cures to cure things like geopathic stress and interference and some of the other things that I teach. And I was pretty amazed. And to this day, it's pretty much held true. There are circumstances that are unique, and sometimes you need to do a few other things to stop the geopathic stress. So what's geopathic stress? We all know that it's you know, earth sickness that creates a sick home or a house. The way I like to look at it is it's you know, basically the home is not being able to support you as it can. And so we want to obviously get rid of these, you know, stop these non-beneficial energies from coming in. So the crystal Merkaba is something that even someone who doesn't feel confident fully dowsing a house can do this around your house to create an elevated energy and to stop the geopathic stress from coming in. So what's geopathic stress? If there are people here who don't know, you know, I look at what I'm looking for personally is obviously how water's running under the house, be it 1 inch or 100 feet down. How is it affecting the house? Geopathic stress can also be caused by 2 different soils when they're building the house. They fill in, think of Florida, they keep filling in different soils. Fracking, mining, all these things can cause geopathic stress. So by creating a crystal Merkaba is a really easy, fun way to stop the geopathic stress. So putting on my glasses because I need to be able to see what I'm doing here. So, okay. So I'm going to just show you first what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share this, and here we go. You're looking at my, oops, sorry, we do not want to be looking at Zoom. Hold on 1 second here, let me try again. Okay. Okay, I know, I see. Trying to move this upload. Okay. Oh, why is it keep going to Zoom? Hold on. Okay, I'm
You
just not
can
going
go,
to.
Shelley. We can only see the page.
You can only see the page. Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I don't know, just on my screen it kept messing up. Okay, so
Pull it up just a little bit.
no, that's what I was doing. That's see what I don't know why it's. Well, so
oh,
why?
not doing the whole thing.
Can you see the?
We see just part of the blue. We see the text at the top
Okay,
and part of the.
oh, okay. No, wait. I got it. Hold on, bear with me for one minute. There we go. Okay, I was grabbing the wrong thing. So basically, Merkaba, and if there's anyone who doesn't understand, it's basically a star tetrahedron. It's understood as a chariot of light, a vessel of light. You can go all the way back to ancient cultures where a Merkaba is basically literally, it's a Star of David, if you know that. But it's also it creates a toroidal field of energy. And when this energy is placed around using crystals around the house, or whatever, your office space or whatever, it will eliminate the geopathic stress. So the Merkaba field is the union. Again, it's creating a counter-rotating field of energy, holding that sense of the union of spirit and matter above and below. And I will send you lots more information about the Merkaba and resonance, and how to do this, so that you're not going to be. I'm going to send you a training page.
We're getting our crash course tonight.
You're getting a kind of a crash course. So basically, so when I met Catherine Parker, she introduced me to this language of Kumvita. And Kumvita is similar to, let's stop this for 1 minute. Kumvita is like Sanskrit. It's a sacred syllable language, but the only difference is it's said internally. And when you apply this particular protocol to crystals, so if I have a crystal, here, and you may want to put this on speaker view, but so basically, you need 6 crystals. If I have a crystal, I'm going to hold the crystals in my hand, and I'm going to set the program. I'm going to program the crystals with this sacred syllable language. And when I met Catherine, and I was wanting to learn more about this. I was thinking, that she's got over 100 syllables, and I'm thinking, well, what's going to be the best one to use to put around the house? And I realized on the front cover of her book there were these 3 syllables, Kri Le Ama, and it was all over the front of her book. And I'm like, okay, if she's putting this on the front of her book, then this must be one of the more powerful symbols. And so, so you'll see here that that's what we're going to use here for these crystals to set, and basically Kri Le Ama is, if you think about a lei, it's about a whole system, right? It's if you go to Hawaii, you get laid, right? And Ama meaning the mother. And so Kri Le Ama is really the fully awakened Christed soul, really bringing this unconditional love to this Merkaba, which holds it in place around your home. And these are a lot of words, but it does work. So, and it also is working with the heart field intelligence, which is really what we want, essentially love, right? So it's working with unconditional love and placing a 6-dimensional field around your home or office or just whatever building. And again, it's one of the primary symbols of Archangel Raphael and the Tree of Life. So her book is all about resonance alchemy and the tree of life. So this is what we're doing when we place these crystals. And once we program the crystals, this is the diagram of how you actually place them, right? So you see, very simply, 1A, 1B, and 1C. So the first two crystals are going to go in a little bit. So you want to have the house or the building be contained, right? If you had a garage coming out one side, you're just going to take 1A, you're going to move it over to the left so that the home is encased in this. And then you go to the back of the house and you place the crystals, connecting them with the apex, right? So by the time you're done, you've got these crystals placed horizontally in the earth. And it says it right here. And what you need, 1.5 to 2 point clear crystals, or as big as you want, and you place them in the ground. And by the way, crystals love to go back into the earth. They just, it's such a great thing to be doing. So there's more to it than this, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. And when the crystals get placed, I like having the crystals have a point. They don't have to be perfect, but you're going to lay them in a particular pattern. It's pretty simple. The two back ones are pointing to the apex, and the apex is pointing down. And you can see these arrows tell you exactly how you're going to place the crystals, right? And 1C is coming right down the center of the house, right? Everybody with me so far? Pretty simple. Okay. So here's the trick. The trick is, how do you program the crystals? And when Catherine, who's a very non-assuming person, had this experience of being gifted this crystal knowledge and this sacred syllable language, was also given a protocol. Now, there's lots of protocols for different things, but specifically for this, what the protocol is saying Krileya Ma, so it's like a mantra, and you kind of go into that space, but you're saying it internally, you're not saying it out loud. And I'm just going to tell you the protocol, so what you're going to do is you're basically going to put your hand over here, and the protocol is
So you had a question about
I know I got
saw your interest about how deep it is.
You're just placing them like, so the idea is you don't want anything to move the crystals in the ground. And so you're going to place them 3 to 4 inches deep, and you're going to cover them up. So you're going to make sure that you don't place it under a water drain where the water is going to wash the dirt away. If you know you have landscaping that you're going to be doing, you're not going to put the crystals in the flower garden where you know you're going to be putting in new flowers. So you're going to find the place, and you can use your rods, you can douse for it, but you also can just, you're just moving it so that as long as the house is encompassed within this crystal Merkaba field, then it's fine. Here's the thing, I'm going to give you, I created a whole training for this. It's a training page, and you'll know very easily how to do this. And if you have any questions, you can call me and ask me, text me, email me, however it works, okay? It's really simple. So basically it goes like this, and I'm going to just say it out loud. So I use my hands. So we need to do this. There are 2 parts of the protocol. Part 1, you're saying Krileya Ma 72 times. Well, how is anyone going to do that? So you break it down 24. And the way that I do is I use my fingers. So I would be going Krileya Ma, 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 Krileya Ma. That's 10 times, right? So I'm going to go around twice and 4 more. And at the end of 24, so it's always the same. So once you get this, it's pretty easy. So it's 24 times, tap 9. You're tapping the crystal so that it takes in the your intention. 24 times, tap 9, 24 times, tap 9. It's pretty simple. So 24 times Krileyama, tap 9 to get it to hold the intention. 24 times, tap 9. 24 times, tap 9. Okay, so that's setting the programming. When you're done with that, there's one more syllable, and it's uba. And I have everything written out. I'm going to even show you what I'm going to send you so that you'll see. Okay. In fact, let me actually do this. Let me share my screen so that you can see this. Okay. Do this help, because I know I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual person. So, okay. So here's the instructions that you're going to get. Tells you exactly. Create a quiet space to connect with your heart. Take a few cleansing breaths. Okay. Okay. I guess you're gonna get something else. So I'll send you the Sacred Golden Ray Attunement. Basically, the attunement is just to set your field before you do this. So probably each one of you have a way that you start before you start dowsing. You can do that, or I will send Mary the attunement that you can use, which I hadn't thought about. So using the sacred syllables, Krileyama, hold your crystals in your left hand, cupping the right hand over the top, completing the setting of the vibrational frequency by saying Krileyama internally and tapping the crystals 72 times in a pattern of 24, tap 9, 24, tap 9. Just to relieve you that you're not going to have to remember this, okay? And then you're going to do, you see right here at number 4, on the second round, you're doing the same thing, but you're going to use the syllables uba. And uba is like the glue that holds the programming to the crystals. Okay. And once the crystals are activated, then you can go outside to your home or office or whatever you're doing. And the only thing I want to add is, if you feel that you want to bring in another, something, a prayer or an intention with the crystals, it's fine. Okay, you can add your own. Take a moment, close your eyes after you've done this, and just sit with the crystal and just notice if there's anything else that would be important to you to set the frequency around your home. Yeah?
Okay, that's really good. I, of course, have questions.
Go ahead.
What does uba mean?
That's a good, really question. I just know uba is just it's creating the glue, the foundation, and I actually don't even know. I've been doing this so long. That's a good question. I will find out. But basically, it's the glue. It's just holding that energy.
Okay. I know I had this question. I think I saw it in the chat too. What if you live in a condo or an apartment and there's a lot of
Great question. Or what if you live in New England and it's winter? What are you going to do? Right? So I've got lots of amazing stories, which I'm not going to take time for tonight. But all right, you have to get creative. And I'll tell you a quick story, and I think this will set you going. So I had a client in LA, and he was an artist, but really having a really, really hard time. And when we got to the Merkaba, I was thinking, I looked around. So sometimes if you had a rectangle house, you probably could figure out how to do it. But in most houses, it's not just a square or rectangle. So,
or it's all cement or hard surface.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I'm sure some people put crystals in the corner of their house or whatever. So get creative. Like so this is what I did with him. He had a room. So I took literally took a piece of cardboard and drew his house in the center and drew the Merkaba around his house, just the way that diagram looks. And then I literally, we programmed the crystals together. And then I took the crystals and I glued them onto the cardboard. And there's one more part to this once you place them all out. And then what I did was I thought, okay, well, where am I going to put this? Because you could put this in any room, you could, because it still holds the vibration of, and you create your intention that this is going around the house. I took it and I placed it underneath his artist's desk. And we created it so that it could stay there. And all I can tell you is by the time I was done dowsing, 1 week later, he was doing a lot of black and white paintings, and all of a sudden he was doing color. And then a week or to 10 days later, he won some major competition in around the north of LA area for his art. So that's how I resolved it in that situation. If it was winter time, you might create, you could make it as big as you want. You could go get a piece of canvas. You can do whatever you want with the intention that it's holding that frequency around your house. And of course you need to check to see if it's working. But like, if it was a winter situation, you would do this, but as soon as you could get it in the ground, you would put it out in the ground. Or one other example is like when the ground was frozen and I went to do a huge barn and I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And I swear to God, the trees started talking. And all of a sudden I realized, and I started to look around and I had this realization that wherever the leaves fell, where the roots are, where the leaves have fallen, that those crotches of roots were not frozen, even though all the land was frozen. And so I was able to get those crystals and I worked with the trees and created the Merkaba with trees. It was amazing. It was completely, so be open to how spirit may be guiding you, right? The last part of this Merkaba is once you get the crystals out, you go to the center of the house, which is why I made that you saw that spiral inside the diagram. You stand in the center of the house, and guess who is a living crystal? We all are living crystals. So with yourself as that central column of energy, you want to see the first triad communicating with itself. And then see the other triad from behind the house to the front, communicating, because they are communicating. And then see them all communicating with each other, with you as a centrifugal force. And you will have a sense of that happening. And the last thing is that I invite people, if there's a possibility of where you're standing in the center of the house, to place an actual crystal, not a tiny one. It needs to be a good size. Sorry, my other crystal. But, at least this, I think you can see this, at least this size, if not bigger. You would want to place it on the table somewhere, or you could have it hanging, and then you create that intention. And of course, are you going to program that crystal? You are. Do the same programming, and that crystal becomes really the communicator or the generator for the whole field. And as dowsers, we would want to then go back and check, is there any more geopathic stress affecting people in this house or office or whatever it is? And if you get, 98% of the time, you would probably get, yes, it is. But every once in a while, there might be something that you might have missed or it didn't include that. So you might have to go do something else for that, use another cure, but mostly 99% of the time it's cured. And the other thing I want to say for those people that have children, you want, like, let's just say there was a play yard out in the backyard. Would you want to include that in the Merkaba? Yes. Or if you have a garden space, yes. If there's a separate building that maybe, let's say you're an artist, and then I would highly recommend doing a little Merkaba for that. If it's a separate building, if it's attached, include it. So if there's let's just say you have a ohana in Hawaii, a grandmother's apartment, but it's separate, but it's still attached to the house. Could you include that in the house? Yes. You just have to expand the Merkaba so it's included, right? And don't use teeny, tiny crystals. At least 1.5 to 2 inch. You can, if you still buy from Amazon, you can get them from Amazon, or you can in Arkansas you can buy wholesale crystals. If you go to a crystal store, don't be paying. It's up to you. I mean, some of my clients, yeah, they'll go and they'll spend $10 for each one because they want them to be bigger or whatever. That's fine, but you shouldn't be spending too much more than $4, and they don't have to be perfect. Okay, you don't need to have a perfect crystal to do this.
It just needs to have a point.
I like, look, if you talk to Charlie who's on here, he doesn't use points, but I like the points because I like to have that feeling that that point is communicating
the
with
direction.
the directions. Yeah. So, but if you really couldn't get any and all you had was some other crystals, just go ahead and use them. Yeah.
And then ideally, for if you had to do a, I don't know, like you did for the artist, right? Where you live in the condo or the apartment, so you're making your own thing. You kind of said like a crystal that basically seemed like the size of your hand for the center to be a representative for you, after you're not standing there.
Yeah, but if you're making it on a board, I mean, just have a picture of your house or have a picture, draw it. If you can't have a picture, draw it, You can be as creative as, as
But the crystal that's in the center of the house,
Oh, I
right?
see, right.
So could it be a faceted crystal hanging from the ceiling?
Okay, right, that's a good question. It's best to have a raw crystal.
Okay.
Yeah, and with that said, could you make that decision, right? Right. Some people, I often say, if you love rose quartz and you want that vibration of love in your house, someone asked me recently about, I'm blanking out. Just don't use like hematite or something like that. You want, because the beauty of the clear crystals or the rose crystal or why am I blanking out? What's the purple, the lavender color crystal?
Amethyst.
Amethyst, sorry. Yeah. I mean, people tend to stick to the rose quartz or the clear because you can program these. So they receive exactly what you're telling it. So yeah. But
so what about clearing the crystals before you
right.
Do your beautiful chant?
No, you don't need, I mean, if you want to, absolutely. You want to put it in salt water.
But I guess the whole process is sort of like a clearing programming that overrides anything else that might be there.
Yep. So shall we ask anybody, does anyone have any questions about this? Do you feel comfortable? Yeah.
I have a question before somebody puts something in the chat or talks to while they're formulating their question. So with your artist, did you adhere that to the bottom of his desk or staying
Yeah.
under a oh, so you literally attached it so he
I
could
literally attach it. And
so it was kind of upside down, I guess.
that's right. It was that, in that case, it was upside down.
Yeah.
But guess what? He was an artist and he was a mess and, you know, just a broken-hearted mess. And, and somehow having it underneath there definitely worked really well.
What happens when you move?
So that's a good question. In my realm of dowsing, I try to douse a house and never have to take those cures with me. So the idea is to leave the house in a better way than it was to begin with. Of course, sometimes it's a rental and you're not going to leave earth cures, copper cures, or if you've created the Merkaba on a board, that belongs to you. You're going to keep that. But in general, that's why I like putting the Merkaba outside, and that you're gifting the land. You're gifting the land back, and it will always be there. You're creating a bed. So the people that move in after you, they're moving into a home whose vibration is elevated and harmonized for sure.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me just ask Charlie, Joanne, Alasa, is there anything that you want to add to what I've shared? Concisely? So these people we've worked together, I don't even know how long. Joanne's probably the most recent, Alasa then, but Charlie's been with, doing this type of dowsing for years and years. So I just wanted to just check with them. Is there anything that I've left out or you would want to add to this group?
I just want to reiterate the first time that I did this and you put the crystals in the land, it is like the land is so happy. You touched upon it briefly when you were talking about crystals love to be re-put into the land, but the amount of like joy and like intimacy of like talking to land and like re-gifting a crystal to it was really, really powerful. And so when any of you guys try to do it, just I was surprised. It took me by surprise at how precious it felt.
Thank you. Those are good.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say it is that there'll be times when you'll say, "Where do I put it?" And you can use your rods to determine that. And then, so it may not be where you think it is, and the land and the trees and the rocks will speak to you because it knows where it needs to be. So allow yourself to say, I'm not doing this alone. This is I'm doing it with all of nature. And I invite all of everything that's around to be with me and join with me as we do it all together. And I find that can be really a powerful way of placing the crystals around any location you want to. Yeah.
Thank you, Charlie. All right. Mary, do you have anybody else?
Those are great points. Yeah. I mean, I think everybody's probably pretty excited and thinking, okay, how can I do this to my place? I guess I know it's very powerful to do it at your home, but I wonder, what about, can you do maybe more stealth applications like schools or businesses, hospitals or?
Absolutely. So hospitals are tricky because if they find the crystals, so for me, again, we go back to asking permission. Do we have permission to go to a hospital or something? No, not really. If you talk to Raymond Grace, Raymond's like, if you see it and you think it needs to be done, do it. So somewhere in between that and asking permission is where your conscience is going to take you. But so let me talk a little bit about the consortium. because this is really amazing. And so we actually just did a school in Australia, Australia last year. It was incredible how things shifted, the school, the children, the people. We obviously did more than just putting out the crystal Merkaba. So yes, you can do this in any, even if, like, honestly, if you lived in a small condo or a duplex, you know, is this benefiting your neighbor? Yes. So sometimes I like to say you're invisible when you're doing this. You know, you can do that. With my daughters, I did the whole building, you know, but you have to ask. You need to be really clear that you're not stepping on, you know, spirit's toes, so to speak, you know. So yeah, you can do it. And businesses, absolutely. Artist studios, yeah. And also, it's a really beautiful thing for people to do. Like, just say someone doesn't really, you know, is having trouble, but they don't really get the dowsing and they really need help. And to be able to say, hey, I could just do a little bit by putting this, you know, these crystals around your home. And it would, and, you know, because once you clear negative vortexes and the geopathic stress, what happens is people can begin to access their higher consciousness. It is one of the most powerful things that I've ever seen. So even a person who is going to a therapist, you know, 3 times a week or whatever, guess what? They come back to their home. And in my world, that is called a beta home. And that home, that person cannot access their higher consciousness in that environment, no matter what they're doing. So the crystal Merkaba, if you can't do anything else, it's a beautiful thing to do because it begins to allow that energy to shift and they can begin to access more of, you know, who they are. And the only other example I'll give you that is so self-evident, when someone says, I feel stuck, I'm feeling so stuck. Well, immediately, at least what I know is that ultimately they're living in a home that's not allowing them to grow, that the house vibration is measurably lower than their own and where they're trying to go, right? I feel stuck. It's like having a glass ceiling. And once you start to begin to take care of, you know, some of the more major non-beneficial energies, such as a negative vortices, and of course, we know there's other things, entities, there's all kinds of stuff. But these 2 things, at least in the world that I am in, once they're taken care of, and then someone can begin, then the house moves from a beta to an alpha vibration. And then they can start shifting their life. And that's what's the most important thing to me in dowsing. So can I go and douse anybody's home? Yeah, I can. But I don't really want to, and I pretty much don't, because I want to work with that person so that they can either begin to do it themselves or that they have a sense of relationship with, you know, the whole system, their wholeness, their own wholeness, and the system that's moving around them. So.
Have you noticed when you've done this, maybe if somebody was trying to sell their house, did that shift the energy and allow for a quicker, easier sale?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that used to be one of the things I used to love to do before COVID until, you know, everyone was out bidding wars and selling houses. But yeah, you know, a house that's not selling, you know, this is, I mean, obviously doing a whole dowsing is even better, but to get that Merkaba around the house, it's becoming a larger attractor field for what it's wanting, and that right vibrational match for who will be able to attract, because that field is expanding, right? And it's living, it's alive, it's moving, right? So absolutely. And definitely affects the person who is trying to sell the house.
Oh, that's great. So talk a little bit more about your consortium.
Yeah, so okay. So Lone Star Dowsers. I was
Tell people, what does that mean? Maybe not everybody knows.
Okay. You mean the consortium?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. So in 2015, okay, I have to step back one step. In 2009, after I had that dowsing experience, I met a man, long story short, and actually I have a first book, and the first book talks about this whole story of everything, the Dowsing Consortium and a journey from Australia to New Zealand. But basically I met a man named Barry Brailsford, who was the one of the top professors on Maori culture. And he's a dowser, and he worked with, you might have heard of Hamish Miller. Hamish was the one who discovered the Michael and Mary lines, and he walked the Michael and Mary lines. And so Barry and Hamish started working together. And I ended up going to Australia and having the opportunity to fly over to New Zealand to meet Barry. And I began to learn about a culture. So most people think that the Maori were the original natives, first people of New Zealand. Well, it's actually not true. And there was a confederation of people called Waitaha. And Waitaha means the water bearers, the water carriers. They were the navigators of the long tide. And this actually ties into the book that's going to be launched on Earth Day. We've been working, the consortium's been working. So a consortium, number one, is a group of people working together with a shared mutual focus. Through my learning about Waitaha, I was inspired through my learning to bring together a group of planetary healers, stewards, dowsers, you name it, alchemists, with the understanding, and this language is kind of old at this point, but at that time, with the understanding that together we're greater than the sum of our parts. And this was before people were talking in that language. And so I put together a consortium, invited people, Charlie, now Joanne, Melissa, with the understanding of the sacred geometry of 12 around 1, that there was a particular vibrational frequency about 12 people around 1. Not going to get into what that 1 is, but you can figure it out. And so never more than 12. And we come together bringing our gifts and weaving our wisdom and taking that energy and focusing it on a project, be it a school, be it Washington, D.C., be it whatever calls to you. But the issue around bringing a group together to do this, Dowsers, everybody has different gifts, right? Everyone has different. So it was with that experience of heart resonance and whole system health that is the key to how do we maintain resonance as a group when we're working together. And so since 2015, after playing around a little bit, we come together for 12 weeks, 12 people, and work together and focus on a project. So last year, it became very evident that I was told you need to work on schools. And so we worked on a school, and we're still looking for more schools. This year we're working, right now the January group we're working on something else. But for 2 years we stopped so that I always knew there was a book about how to do this. And for the past 2 years, I stopped opening the consortium, and there were 6 of us that started working on a book to bring forward case studies, to give people an opportunity to listen, to learn, to hear what we're doing, what is the the protocol, and how do we work as a group together. So that's the consortium. You can go on my website, learn more. Like I said, this book is coming out in April.
Soon. It's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner. And on the 10th, you can support us by pre-ordering the ebook. And yeah, so this information is going to get out. So that's what happened. And it's been an amazing journey. And so the consortium always changes. Some people stay, some people like Charlie have been there forever. Nalasa's now been there for how many? Three years now, I think? 2 years. Joanne's just new to the consortium. Do you guys want to add in 1 minute of anybody want to say what your experience of the consortium is? No.
I would love to hear what you all, what drew you to it, and what was an impactful focus that you all had.
Come on, you guys can do it.
Okay. Well, it's my first year with the consortium.
Perfect.
I feel so incredibly blessed, and I really didn't know exactly what I was going to be experiencing. I just knew that I was being called in my heart to join. And I have to say, I am amazed at the level of heart resonance. It's amazing to work together with these 11 other amazing earth stewards. And each person is so unique and has such an amazing gift, and we come together. It's enlightening, it's enheartening, and I feel very blessed for this experience.
Thank you. So what I want to say is the focus being, so I was joking about Lone Star Dowsers, right? So it really is about, because with Dowsers, mainly everybody works by themselves, and they might come together on Zoom. Beautiful. You mentioned the group in Australia, like, so they come together on Zoom, but really pretty much people are working alone. And it really became clear to me, it's time that we work together. But how do we do that? And so really the idea is, especially with this book, and is that you gain enough confidence to work as a group that you can start your own groups. And because the impact is exponential. So I can work and do one house, but when we work together, it's phenomenal at what happens. And immediately your toolbox becomes like you're gaining, like Charlie works with skulls, and Nalas is a home aesthetic designer, and somebody else works with sound, and all of a sudden we have all these gifts weaving together as one and being applied to this basic protocol of working. But it's really important you learn how to stay in resonance, because everyone has different opinions. How does that work? So what came out was what's called the 3 harmonic octaves. And it's a progressive experience from working with the group in heart resonance to taking that group resonance and focusing it on the earth. So earth heart resonance. And then ultimately really experiencing the group as one voice and one energy, which is what we call radical earth heart resonance. And when that happens, there's a sense of communion and exponential learning for everybody, and nobody leaves the same, because the gifts that are given back from the reciprocity, because it's a transparent, safe space, and everyone's in agreement to not be going, oh, this is mine and this is mine. And, oh, I can't tell this because I don't want anyone else to take my process. Well, you have to be willing to just be living in a transparent environment where love is the answer, where love is the guiding force. And when love is the guiding force, and you take your gifts and you work together as a collective, it's really mind-boggling. So even for me still, every time it's completely different. And every time, like one year, Marty Lucas came in and he brought his reagents. And imagine being part of that group, having no idea about reagents. And all of a sudden we're working on the Potomac River, where the bridge is that everyone's going into the Washington Mall. So these are the kinds of things that we do, and usually I'm the one, but I'm open to anyone in the consortium that might feel like, okay, what's our focus for that 12 weeks? And if you imagine, like, I'm really looking for schools, because schools are placed in the worst possible land. There's transformer stations. These kids are being subjected. And the schools that we've done, like there was one school in Nebraska where teachers were, in one room, teachers were having seizures. And one teacher ends up dying. They put another one in there and she starts having seizures. And by the time, the person who at that time was doing it, there were no more seizures in that school. And the school actually, and he was able to do the whole school thing because he got the principal behind him. And that school's scores went up 20% after the school was doused. So you can see the potential of working as a collective. So I think that's a great way to end. I do want to say one thing. So I'm going to, in fact, let me do this right now before I forget, because where's that training? Hold on. Okay, I'm going to put this in. So this is a gift for you from me. This will lead you right to the Crystal Merkaba grid training. So you don't have to just read documents. There is like three videos, and I take you through the whole thing and do it with you if you want. I actually do the programming on one of them where you can turn it on and do it with me so that you don't have to feel like you're doing it by yourself. And you'll get the documents. And also feel free, my email is just, Shelley at evolutionarydowsing.com. You can email me and I'll help you if you need help. But that will, see if you can grab that link, and Mary will, we're working out how to send the link in the email. But yeah, thank you, Mary. So yeah, so you're not alone. That's the whole bottom line of this whole talk tonight. You're not alone. Even though you're part of the Lone Star Dowsers. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, Lone Star comes from the Lone Star State.
Of course, I know that.
Yeah. But things have changed since the what do you call it? The pandemic. It became more difficult to meet in person, so we got online. So there's a lot of blessings with that, but I do miss, that contact. And we are more powerful together, and that is part of what the age of Aquarius is about. It's moved from the me to the we. That's where we need to be, and we're so powerful together.
Yeah, and I want to say, anyone that goes on to my website, I haven't taken it down yet, so you get. There is a 24-page booklet explaining the type of dowsing that I do, and Joanne does, and Charlie and Nalasa does, and download that, and you'll also be informed of how to get.
Is that for the consortium?
The consortium, if you go to my website, you can link on the consortium page. You'll also see the new book there. We're about to put up a new page, but
so where's the 24-page booklet?
That's just from going to my website.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in the consortium, because there's only 12 people at a time, email me and let me know, and we'll set up a consult. And because it is sort of a private invitation, it's not just anybody can come on. But as soon, with what Joanne was describing, if wow, this is something I really want to be part of, then I'll put you on the list for the next one. And we'll have a little conversation, so that I can explain and answer your questions and stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. So this has just been so rich, so much good information, and so many tools. I know I'm going to be doing the Crystal Merkaba around not only my place, but I'm going to see if I can do it for my whole complex where I live. Have to kind of check in. And when you were talking about that the first people or may not be the first people that we are, I think there are many others that it's not on a conscious level who've walked this earth. But yes, But yeah, just that acknowledgement of all of that.
And Mary, if you, I'll send you tonight the I'll give you the template for the land acknowledgement so that everybody here can have it. And you can actually send that out with the replay so people can, I mean, for me, it's just, I just want to be a conduit for helping people become more aware of their relationship with the earth. So feel free to use it. It's totally self-explanatory, and it explains why you would even want to do it. So please feel free to use that as well with whatever land and spread the word. Yep.
Perfect. That's wonderful. And then people that want, if they're listening to the replay, they can, I guess, access the chat about the Merkaba, or we'll have your email in the replay, and they can email you directly and request that.
Absolutely.
So, wow, this was wonderful. Thank you so much, and thank everybody for showing up. And yeah, very grateful for you and the work that you're doing, and that our paths have crossed. So, yay! I hope everybody gets together and acknowledges the land and creates some crystal Merkabas for their local homes and businesses. So
thank you. And I look forward to getting to meet you all. I'll be obviously at the East Coast Dowsing Conference, and I've never done the West Coast, but I'm checking into it. So it'd be really fun to meet you. And
now, if someone wanted to work with you, do you work with individuals, or do you have classes? Tell people a little bit more about how they can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely do. If you put your name on the list, then you'll get added. If you sign on my website, you'll get added to the email, which comes out. Or the email blast comes out once a month, so that you'll kind of be able to track what we're doing. Yeah, I absolutely do mentorships. Joanne's involved in a mentorship right now. Nalasa came into the consortium after she did her mentorship. I do one-on-one mentorships. Yeah, and I obviously do douse, I'll douse people's houses. So if you're interested in a mentorship, give me a call and we'll talk more about it. And then the next training will probably happen after probably like maybe July or something, given that the book is coming out. So we have a lot going on here. So yeah,
very
feel free to
exciting. Will you send me the link so that people can pre-order your book? Because we'll also include that in the
thank you
in the replay, so we can get more awareness and get you on that bestseller list of.
Right. We're actually we're about to get the link for the pre-order, but I will send you that email. I'll add you to the email that I'm about to get out tomorrow. Like, we're on this huge campaign schedule. It's crazy. Yeah. Perfect. So would love that. And yeah, and if you have questions, or would love you all to support this book, because it's really it has its own message, and it really introduces Waitaha, and it will give you, it's not a workbook per se, but it's actually will guide you right into opening more to working with groups as a possibility. And let's support collectively at the restoration of our Mother Earth. Sure.
Absolutely. It sounds like one of those books that just raises your consciousness from reading it. So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. Until next time.
Until next time, thank you all. So nice to meet you, and come play with us, engage with us. Yeah.